Good day, everybody. How's it going out there? Well, wherever your day is going, it's going better than a particular bluebird that we've all grown to know over the past 13, 14 years. Long time. But the bluebird of Twitter is fading out. Only a handful of people at this point have maintained the bluebird symbol and the Twitter symbol as the dark X starts to hover over a lot of people's smartphones and things such as that. So a lot of furries have been, once again, talking about where do you converse after, Twitter's continual downfall or continual changes that are leaving artists and content creators uncomfortable with the direction in which that social media platform is heading. The thing about death and life on the internet as far as websites go is that it's not extremely predictable. Websites that are technically dead and have not really had a lot of life to them are still around. Or some of them are completely dead. MySpace, I don't think, has any real say anymore. And all the different things is that internet is just a cycle, right? Nothing lasts forever. But the idea is that the tools on the internet are supposed to serve you. So if you're not comfortable with a particular tool, absolutely look for brighter waters elsewhere. But I think that this is really a big moment in the furry fandom, and I think a lot of people are seeing it as a little bit different. And I think in a way, it's because, let's say, like this picture here is like an animal characterization of a social media platform. Sort of gave it a bit of sort of a creative bravado, sort of a anthropomorphization, almost as it were. It was not just a social media site. It was a tweet. People would talk and make little chirps and make little tweets to show their fellow people. And now we are changing to this X sort of format, which is introduced larger posts, has introduced paid subscriptions to boost certain types of content from people with money, and also in a future sort of looking passage is that this X company has sort of ties to Elon Musk's PayPal direction that he wanted to take PayPal into like a payment processor kind of type site, sort of like another Cash App or another Cash App, another PayPal, There's so many of these platforms these days, and Venmo, right? There's so many different payment platforms and processors and Square and all these places. Making Twitter into one of those seems kind of redundant in my mind. And unfortunately, I don't think Elon Musk sees that. I think Elon Musk is like, well, I want to be the payment processor. And money is what I like best in talking about, and I understand it better than social media and social dynamics, which isn't very the margins of profits are not that great because it's mostly in advertising, which obviously took a hit since then. But basically, I like this art from this artist here. I think their name is Robbie, and like that. I found this one I think this one is a really nice one to sort of show the exasperation that I think some furries have felt over this transformation. One of the bigger transformations too that I forgot to mention here that has definitely impacted one of my viewers because they talked to me about it. I won't say who, but the big change was when all of a sudden Twitter required an account to view Twitter. That's a big one. That's a big change. And because I think it's a big change because, when you're talking about a social media platform or a public sort of stage platform where, governments and people and things like that use it to share their thoughts with the world, it sort of puts up a barrier of sharing those thoughts with the world when the world has to have an account, right? It's the reason that some people like basically Facebook is sometimes what people say on Facebook is closed off to them, and Twitter was an opportunity to see things without having to log in or see things, and on top of that, like, people in mainstream media could reference tweets, right? Reference this tweet for better or for worse, right? To say, like, this is what this person said about this thing, and they can embed those tweets. It becomes a lot harder once this sort of situation happened. So that's all the things that have been kind of going on with Twitter. And as a mainstream social media thing, in the furry fandom, it's become pretty clear that it looks like we're going to have to move forward and try to find other places as the continuing landscape continues to change. Or you stay put, right? It was what was called in the Deus Ex, right, game that Sam Carter said, the people who stay behind can act against the poor wishes of the people that remain, who are both quote unquote corrupted or whatnot. So you can basically stay behind and try to keep things afloat, right? And try to keep things afloat for the community that chooses to remain. But it is the internet, so spreading your wings out a little bit to try different places and experience new things. You should always do that every once in a while. I will say this, and this will be the final part of this part one of probably a multiple part series. When I moved on to Twitter, probably 12 or so years ago, it was off the back of LiveJournal. And the thing that caught me off of LiveJournal eventually was that most of the people I was following, I basically signed up for a Twitter account and I started posting little tweets, but I didn't take it seriously. I said, LiveJournal is still my main platform. And like a lot of people are saying, X or Twitex or whatever it's called now, right? The X is now whatever the heck it's called. People are still going to call it Twitter. And I think this is something that Elon Musk doesn't quite understand, is that, yes, people were complaining about Twitter. But people were on Twitter, right? People complain about things even though they're part of it, right? It's sort of this weird sort of things that I don't think a lot of people in power or a lot of people who are outside the groups understand, is that people within a group will complain. People are going to complain about furries, right? Even though they're furry. Or people are going to complain about Christians, even though they're Christian. People are going to complain about white people, even though they're white. It's those things where people within a group who are complaining about something still find joy in that thing, right? They still find that it's worth the effort and it's worth the toil. People will complain about their community, even though they live in it, but their complaints also come from a little bit of a passion to wish to see those things get better. But then, like, when you gut the bird entirely, now Twitter can never get better. Now it's just X. And, now you can start with a blank slate because it's a new website name. It's like, no, but it's still the same people. But now you're saying, well, you guys weren't going to fix Twitter, so I'm just going to change it and do whatever I want with it. And I think that's why the community is sort of feeling like it's no longer the community's. It's somebody else's. And I think this brand change is what finally revealed that to furries. And I think that's why a lot of them are pushing towards different platforms. Blue Sky has become a big one. And basically, Blue Sky is its own sort of thing. I don't have a Blue Sky account yet. But basically, you have to get a code to get into it. And it's sort of like anybody who has an account gets a new code every 2 weeks that they can share with somebody to let them sign up for an account. It's a way to keep out bots. It's a way to keep growth slow, which I think is going to work out for Blue Sky in the end, because when it comes to like these Mastodons, Threads, like all these different co-hosts, all these different like social media accounts that are kind of trying to vibe up into the ether that is left behind by Twitter, I think that it's causing like burnout, right? People are joining these accounts, but then they're not really getting, the engagement and stuff like that they're used to. So they kind of like, or they're getting used to it, but they're not, they're signing up for different places and different things, trying to figure out what works. And it's like a big mess. And I think that's why it's important that I do a series or something like that about the different social media sites, test them out a little bit, give a little thought on each of them, and do that. But this is basically the intro video to this. Just talking about how the social media landscape is going to change again. And like with LiveJournal, it's going to be like a one day. It's like if one day one of these social media platforms does Twitter better than Twitter, it's just going to be a silent change. Like it's going to be like one of those things where like one day I stopped using LiveJournal, right? And I think it was one of the time when I noticed that my friends list only had like one active person, and every other person that I had followed on LiveJournal had already moved on to Twitter. And even one of them was posting a basically an auto bot thing every week that was basically going, here were my tweets for this week on LiveJournal, right? And I'm like, well, what am I staying here for? Useful for archival purposes, useful to maintain the account and see the histories and stuff like that, because that's important to maintain. But as far as a modern platform, was no longer the case. So I think that's what's going to happen to X. One day it will be your X. You just don't know when, and you just don't know how. Someday, like, there's going to be, like, eventually, if Blue Sky plays out in a way I think it's going to, I think the Blue Sky's got the right idea, honestly, with like the trickling people in and having people talk about it every 2 weeks, right? It causes people to go, am I gonna get the golden ticket this week? And so it kind of gets engagement, rather than Mastodon or co-host, which sort of like Ripple and don't. But anyways, I think it's one day it's like one of those platforms is just gonna silently replace Twitter, and eventually, and maybe X will succeed, maybe Elon Musk will succeed. He's got a lot of determination, but sometimes he's a very stubborn person. He'll go forward in a direction, and I don't know whether or not that direction is going to pan out. There was sometimes sunk cost fallacy is a heck of a drug. That's what happened to dig.com, which was one of my, the main thing before Reddit. And I never went on Reddit, ironically. Like, it was like Reddit versus Dig, and Reddit won, but I never went to Reddit after Dig collapsed. So that was back in my college days. So, the social media platform is what it is. And if you're looking for places and people, you'll find them in different places and platforms. And as I said, we'll go over that a little bit in future videos. The next one in this series is going to be about Mastodon. So look out for that. And thank you guys very much for watching and listening to this Rue Ramble. What platforms do you like? Have you seen social media platforms that you like to utilize? And what do you like about their strengths and their weaknesses? Feel free to share. Kick that comment in the comment section. Kick a like. Kick a comment. Kick a subscribe button. We're getting up there. Thank you everyone for doing that. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.